Jones probably about 10 to 15 years ago, just by coincidence. He and I served on the board of trustees, board of directors for Presentation Academy.
My brother had the spirit of baseball, and it might be contagious because I have it too.
And I was curious as to why would this little black man be on the board?
I'm especially grateful to my brother posthumously for making a commitment some 30-something years ago that he would live to make a difference in the lives of young black people, one, and a community in general.
He was born in Grenada, Mississippi, September the 6th, 1939. He was the 7th child of 12 siblings. He was the 7th, and 7th biblically means something in the Bible. His parents, Casey, and he was born to Casey and Patty Jones of Grenada, sharecroppers, and it's just amazing, our history, family history. So you can imagine having 12 siblings, how many cousins, nieces, grandchildren, on and on that we have. Well, back to Lee Jones, a part of where he's from, that's some of his background. He had an 8th grade education. He had to come out of the school system back then to help support the family. And they were all my uncles and aunts, 8 boys and 4 girls. There's only 5 living at this time.
Hi, my name is Joseph Davis. I go by J.D. Davis from working at the hospital since 1980. I met Mr. Jones there and battled with him my first year. He became my mentor. I watched him, I listened to him, and I respected him. And he also respected me. Took me on my first trip and taught me how to enjoy life, to try different foods, and get out of the city of Louisville. I met his family, Robin, Roche, Anton, Andre, Miss Nellie, all beautiful people, role model citizens and good friends. Don't have a whole lot of friends. I'm kind of a quiet person and personable, but my doors have always been open for this family, and they've always had theirs open for me. And that's the way it's going to always be. I deeply respect Howard. Howard started in this league 30 years ago, as they said, and through much controversy and a lot of hard work and commitment, Howard's kept the league going. Sometimes from the background, but now he's up front, leading the league and doing his best to make sure that this thing survives and these children make it. All of his children know the Lord's Prayer, and that's saying a lot. They're not just out here hollering at kids and teaching them baseball, but teaching them life, and that's very important. And that's what Mr. Jones taught me, and I appreciate it very much.
If I could get everybody's attention, I'm Joseph Davis, a great friend of Lee Jones, my mentor, the one that created this West Louisville R.A.P baseball program. We want to welcome you all. Thank you for making time out of your busy schedules to come and say congratulations to a job well done for Lee Robert Jones that this league is still carrying on to this day. We want to welcome the Lee Robert Jones family. Everyone want to raise your hand from the family. They've come from all over the United States to be here. We want to recognize the past and present coaches. Can you raise your hand if you coached here during the West Louisville R.A.P baseball program? We want to recognize the past and present board members, the original board members for the West Louisville R.A.P baseball program. Can you raise your hand? We also want to recognize the great donors that donated to making this plaque available. We will unveil it at the middle of this program so that everyone could see it. And we really appreciate you from the 2nd Street Neighborhood Association, from the Davis Company, from Deborah Harlan family, and many others contributed to make sure that this plaque was available and that the legacy of Mr. Jones and the West Louisville R.A.P baseball program did not just go away. We want to recognize Ms. Donna Purvis, our 5th District Councilwoman, and ask her to come up and say a few words.
When you met Mr. Jones, you did not meet a stranger, you met a friend. And I never saw Mr. Jones without a smile on his face. And he had this unconditional friendship, but also unexpected. Because you meet people in passing and you think that's what it is, in passing. But then a person like Mr. Jones, he appears when you least expect someone like him to appear. And I never forget when my mom passed and I looked up and Mr. Jones was at the wake.
Okay.
And that said a lot to me.
Amen. Okay.
Come to find out that he was very passionate about his children as well as his grandchildren. So his granddaughter attended Presentation Academy. So he wanted to be involved in the whole process of her being educated. So I thought that was phenomenal. So I know that he had great passion for the community and for helping everyone. It seemed like he just had this huge heart that was too big for his little body. And so I appreciate the small amount of time that I got to be in Mr. Jones's life. I hope that we can find more Mr. Joneses in this community.
Amen.
Because I understand that had it not been for Mr. Jones, this would not have ever been. So I want to say thank you all for sharing Mr. Jones with us and with the community. And may God bless you and may his memory live on.
Amen.
Thank you.
Amen.
Thank you.
Many of us can do. The memory of Mr. Jones can get you emotional. He had energy. It was just contagious. He had a vision, and not only did he have a vision, but he made visions come true. I want to read a brief history as I recollect. Robin gave me a book, Kentucky's Everyday Heroes, that has Mr. Jones in it and explains what, his legacy was, but I wanted to kind of give my point of view. I was here, many years ago when they started, and if you would allow me, I wanted to just say that. Many years ago, a man had a vision.
Yes. It's all right. Yes. We loved it. Yep.
He started with speaking it and then working to make it happen. With a small group of dedicated volunteers, Mr. Jones opened the idea of bringing baseball to Shawnee Park at the Duffy Field, the old Duffy Field. He and his visionaries started sign-ups, grilling hot dogs and burgers and soft drinks outside of a cooler to sustain the many needs of his infant league. In a park in the past that was not welcome to all people who lived in West Louisville. Soon Mr. Jones commandeered a trailer and parked it right on the lawn of the old Duffy Field. We had support of the Metro Council, but intentionally limited our request. Mr. Jones' intent was being self-sufficient as much as possible. We had car washes and other fundraisers, teaching the children to work for what they needed and wanted. As time passed and much work and meetings, Mr. Jones, working with Paul Bather and the Metro Council, the Homestead Program, and Ms. Rademacher and many others to design and build the current Babe Ruth qualified baseball complex part of where we are standing today. The other part is the senior league across the street over here. It's a Babe Ruth. You can have a Babe Ruth tournament here. West Louisville R.A.P, reaching all people. Look around and witness a vision and the implementation of a vision. Look around and see through Mr. Jones' vision, leadership, and efforts to work with many, work around the few, and work for his love for his community, and through many, many prayers. Look around and see the effort is reaching all people. Thank you, coaches, for making time to come back to recognize Mr. Jones, board members, friends, family. We know that you put your time and your talent and your treasures into this league and still have your prayers and hearts here. Howard Jones is currently the president of the league. Mr. Jones, can you come up here, please? We want to thank Howard Jones for carrying the torch, and for enduring and overcoming for the sake of the children and this community. The work goes on.
Yes.
The support is still needed. Remember, we make time to do what we want. See Mr. Jones for volunteer opportunities to pay it forward. This is not the end for Mr. Lee Robert Jones. This is the continuation.
Yeah. Lee Jones, when he dropped out of, or had to complete his education, he met my mother at the age of very young, 16, 17 they were. She was a year under him. She was from Grenada, Mississippi as well. But her family, she was the only girl. She had two older brothers that lived in Denton, Texas, and so they lived right down the road from each other. So that's how they became acquainted, how they met, and the rest is history. They were married 57 and a half years before my mom passed away. And she was that woman. She was that woman, that virtuous woman. My mother, she lived with lupus for 30 plus years, and she passed away in 2014. So back then, in 2014, lupus was still under research. And she was working, prior to that, she was a working mom, wife, in the household. But once she was diagnosed with the lupus ailment, she had to stop working, and she became that virtuous woman in her latter years of life. My dad, he was the man. She encouraged him, pushed him to be the man that he needed to be. You know, the saying that behind every man there's a good woman. Well, they were good together.
My name is Howard Jones, and I'm the president of West Louisville Baseball. And my brother had the spirit of baseball. And it might be contagious because I have it too. And we're just trying to do things as a community by using baseball as a lever to try to get the young parents to get involved, get our young people totally involved in the community. And I'm learning as a president of the league, there's so many things that I need to do, need to straighten myself. I need to work more. I need to work more harder. And hopefully by my hard work be an example to other people in the community to do something. Not saying that they're not. We've got a lot of young people that's busy in this community. Busy helping out, helping doing things, coaching these kids and trying to do the right thing in their life too, to be an example. It's hard to be an example. Everybody know that. It's hard to be a good example, but they still bypassing it. They bypassing all the trials and the tribulations that they're going through to try to help these kids to be an example in our community. And God bless our young people. And let's push our young people. Let's encourage our young people to do more. And we got young kids on our baseball team that got big ideas about what they want to be, who they want to be, who they want to be an example of. So please, let's help us out. help as much as you can, and we are grateful and thankful for everything you've done for us.
My name is R.B. Jones, and I'm the brother to Lee Jones, who we are commemorating on today. I'm especially proud to be here to witness an opportunity for a black man and his family to be celebrated as a hero. I'm especially grateful to my brother posthumously for making a commitment some 30-something years ago that he would live to make a difference in the lives of young black people, one, and a community in general. I'm especially proud that we have a public servant, alderwoman, here today who see the need to have this kind of event and to make this thing happen in our community. And I'm just hoping and praying that we glean something from this today, whereas Little League baseball, Little League sports, all of them taught with life skills as a background can become an integral part of our community.
He has been known by a lot of names. Some call him the counselor, some call him the great counselor. He's been known as the wheel. Some call him the amen. Some have called him Ra. But if my father was standing here today, he would call him Jesus. And that is the name that I greet. I've been associated with this league a long, long time. Way back when we started it. And I used to marvel at the amount of steaks and dinners and drinks that Lee would miss, because when I would come to town, he would be spending money, he and his wife, trying to get this thing going, making a commitment to the community. I'm especially gratified as well because in 1980, the Joint Center of Political Studies made a statement. And they said that out of all sports, Little League baseball is the one sport that when young children grow up, they will not kill each other. This has come from a black think tank out of Baltimore, Washington, D.C. area in 1980. And they've watched this as they've gone down the line, and that is a fact. So this is really, really more than about baseball.
Yes.
If you find a league, or if you find a team, if you find a coach that does not include life skills in it, you got somebody having an activity, and you end up with nothing. We don't have time to practice in today's world. My heart hurts because when I look at the little children there, they'll leave here without a hero. Because while you all have worked your bones off and worked and toiled and did everything that you have to do, they'll go home not knowing that there's a person who looked like them as a hero. We get the glory because we can talk and we can drive and we can do whatever we do. It takes this long to get a plaque for someone who started a program that serviced almost 4,200 children over a period of time. It's our fault. Because we are not in the we are not in the process, we are not in the business of creating our own heroes. We have to get to that, people. We have to make sure that our young ones coming along and stuff will not want to see the biggest house across the street because they never see themselves as having that big house. They got to see Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. on a day when everybody's dancing and whatever else and know nothing about what he was about. That's what Little League sports is about. Little League sports is about teaching children how to be responsible, how to be respectful, but moreover, it teaches children how to have expectations. This is not an easy job. I've served as Little League commissioner for Little League International in California. And I would go into, I had 43 teams that I would go into and supervise and do whatever else. And inevitably and invariably, every time I went to a team, the community looked like ours, I saw the same things. It wrenched my heart then, it wrenched my heart now. I see so many people working, so many good people working, but the folks in the community assume that it's something that's going to be done. You're out here this morning, you've worked and you've toiled, you've done everything you could do. But the parents of these young people are not here because they take for granted your work. And you don't have Mother Teresa's in the United States of America. Mother Teresa's, you cannot volunteer broke in the United States. You have to have your own personal funds in order to volunteer effectively. If one of those children would come to the game and not have a belt, which is required by Little League, if Coach Jones don't have, or President Jones don't have some money someplace to buy a belt, that child can't play. So what does that mean? That means the 9 children on the other team can't play because they don't have 9 children over here to play. We have to begin to support our leagues. We got to learn how to do things big time. It's very interesting, and one of the young men in the Little League that I was the commissioner of asked me one day, he said, Mr. Jones, I said, yeah, man. He said, why do you wear a suit? Are you a lawyer? Are you somebody important? I said, absolutely. I'm not a lawyer, but I'm very important because I'm a member of your community. I love you. I care about you. I wear a suit because I'm representing. I come today. I didn't come with a black suit on and whatever else. This is a memorial occasion for my brother. I came with some light. I came with some power because this is what I wanted to bring to you. You can do this, but you're going to have to start teaching. You're going to have to start creating. You're going to have to start being firm. You're going to have to start being productive and whatever else. And if you, no matter what you do for those young children, doesn't matter what you do for them, if you don't get something straight to strengthen their family, you have nothing. And I just want to let you know that, through the years, I've talked to Howard, we've talked about fundraising, we've talked about rules and regulations, and we've tried to support and whatever else, and family have been supportive, and we want to see this grow. Because for me, it's my people. I'm not going to stand here and try to tell you that, oh yeah, I love everybody, and I do. I'm a God-fearing man. But I especially love my people. And I know that when it comes to my people, everything is political. So if these young ones don't get it, I've left them nothing. So I'm going to pray harder now than I've ever prayed before. I'm going to ask you to do the same thing, but get up and work when you get through praying. And let's make this league a league that young people and families can identify with. Can we do that, please? Can we respect, what a legacy really, really means? Can young children and families in this community really recognize that, we got somebody in this community that can make stuff work? We have to build up all the league. That's a hard job. I've been a mayor and I've been all that stuff. That's how I got great. It's not age. Really, it's people. But if you're gonna be a child of God and you're not gonna be a servant, you'll never be a child of God. God have never used lazy people. Never. So I want to just continue to pray for you all and thank you all so much for coming and representing my brother Lee and giving commemorations and whatever else. And I'm just hoping and praying that next year we'll be bigger and we'll be better. Thank you all, the lady, for all that you do to help this league grow. Thank you for all of your donors, to all of your family members and whatever else. And let's get this going. God bless you and thank you.
I work with the Little League because of my son, and I was listening to what the gentleman just said. When you put your children in something, you just don't put them in there. You go with them. Yeah. And I just started, and we showed up. So I got my family. That's my sister over there. And when you work with somebody who it loves people and loves the children, and you don't mind working with them. And I left my job over in Indiana. I left about 6 o'clock. And I live over on River Park, and I got home about 12 in the morning. That's the kind of effort that we put in over here. And we didn't mind doing it. I look back on it, and I think it was probably the best part of my life because we did instill. I see Anton standing over here. I knew him all right away because he was a nice young man then, and he's a nice young man now. We got Philip Thomas. And we got so many people that's, I think it was one of the Bushes that play football. He came through here. And we didn't do it because we wanted the glory. We gave our glory to God. But we wanted something to our kids to say, okay, this is what we can do, and they can do something also. So I think Lee, he talked about that trail over in the park. We found out later it was a fire hazard. So Lee he just did whatever he could, and he made us go with it. But like I say, when you're going for something that's going to be great, and somebody that's doing it's going to be great, you don't mind going. So I just want to ask everybody just to continue to pray for this league, pray for the city of Louisville, because it breaks my heart every time I turn on the news. But all we can do is trust in the Lord and lean not to our own understanding. So I just thank everybody for coming. I saw Lee's daughter when I first, it just makes your heart feel so good to know that his legacy will not die. So thank you so much, and God bless you all.
Down south, they didn't have a lot to do other than working the cotton fields and doing what they did to occupy their time, their fun time. Like I said, it was 8 boys. They started their baseball they already had a team. 8 boys, they had already created a baseball team. And even with the sisters, the girls in the family, they all, and my grandmother, they had their own team. Grenada, Mississippi, after the cotton field, after it was time to come out of the cotton field, they was playing baseball. They might not have had the gloves and they may not have had the balls, but they was throwing something. I ain't sure what it was. It might have been that red dirt down there, or it might have been they might have made a ball out of the cotton. But that's where they started the whole Jones, Patty, Casey, Jones started with the baseball. When he left Mississippi, he went to Richmond, followed his oldest brother to Richmond. That's what they did in the South. That's how they migrated to other parts of the country. Once the elder siblings left, the younger generations behind them, they wanted to branch out, and they bought them to where they were at to see a different part of the world as they grew up. So he went to Richmond. But he settled in Kentucky. How he got to Louisville, because my mom, they were dating, but my mother, she didn't go right away to Richmond. She had family that migrated here in Louisville, Kentucky.
I am Anton Jones, the oldest grandchild of Lee Robert Jones. Just to talk a little bit about this baseball league, we started over there about 30 years ago on 3 little small fields. All the teams were named after the old Negro leagues. I played for the Pittsburgh Crawfords. Coach Joe Davis was our coach. We won the championship 2 years in a row. We got to play alongside some really great people. If anybody knows who Michael Bush is, Michael Bush went on to the NFL and things like that. We got to play against those great guys. And just Lee Jones, my granddad, started something that I hold very dear to my heart. It is his legacy. I'm very, very proud that 30 years later, it is still going on. We had some great memories, some great upbringing. He taught us how to be a man. He taught us how to grow up, how to be a teammate, how to love your family, from grilling hot dogs right afterwards and the early morning practices and cleaning the field afterwards, all those good things. So I just wanted to say thank you to Lee Jones and thank you for all those that have helped carry on his legacy.
First thing, legacy. Legacy can be defined as something transmitted by a predecessor. 30 years ago, my grandfather started Inner City Youth Baseball League. A lot of you all don't know, or some of the ones that are here now, but 30 years ago, we shut down Broadway. There was a parade every year. Hundreds of people came out. We literally shut down an entire street, one of the main streets of Louisville, Kentucky, and had a parade and came all the way down to those 3 small fields over there and played baseball. Long time ago. We named the teams after the Negro Leagues, and it was the great yellow and black for me, the Pittsburgh Crawfords. Yes, that was us. And at the helm was Coach Joe Davis. I can remember at one point our catcher got hurt, and my granddad, everybody was freaking out. Coach Davis was like, I don't know what we're going to do. My granddad looked at Coach Davis and said, let Anton do it. JD said, dude, he's a little. He can't play catcher. Just do what I say, JD. Yes, sir. And that day, a legend was born behind that plate. That would be me. We did a lot. I really thank my granddad for believing in me, believing in us, and doing the things he did. It was a lot of times my granny had to bring me up here in that purple Cadillac. It was purple two-toned and all that good stuff. And not Cadillac, Lincoln, I'm sorry. And we would pull up, getting all our baseball gloves and things like that. I don't think a lot of these youngsters here know what it is, but again, that was 30 years ago. And I'm proud to stand here right in front of you all and honor my granddad. In something. I got see Portland over there, my cousin Grover, my brother played, my cousin Chanel, she played. We all came up through this league, and I can honestly sit and look at you all and say thank you, because you all turned out to be some great human beings. But what was instilled in me was family, a work ethic, an unrelenting sense of pride and will that drove us all to be better. That was Lee Jones. That was Coach Joe Davis. That is me. I am, and we all are, his legacy. In case you all don't know, his name was Lee Robert Jones.
He didn't want my mother to get away from him, so he left Richmond. He had enough of Richmond, and he came to Kentucky to pursue marriage to my mother. Remember, I said behind every good man there's a good woman, but it takes two. And Lord knows, it even takes a village now, these days in the 20th century. It takes even more than that. But you cannot have a good marriage, relationship, inner peace without the Lord. So they were blessed. And we are blessed. And we just so grateful to God that He entrusted us with such a great legacy. So when my dad came to Kentucky, he went to work for Brown & Williams Tobacco when they were located on Hill Street, which was probably 3.5 minutes from our home. So I can remember my dad, and that was way back when they had the house phones with no call waiting and those type of things, this modern stuff, because everything that society has changed. Some things should have, in my opinion, should have stayed the same. And I brought that up because when my mother was working, and when my dad was working, and he had his break at a certain time, and I'm gonna say 7 o'clock, because that's when probably the street lights came on. If the three siblings, my brother's the oldest, Ricky, I'm in the middle, and my younger sister, Rochelle. At break time, when my dad made that phone call to the house to check on the kids, if all three of us couldn't get on the phone and he heard our voice, within them 3.5 minutes, he was at the house wanting answers. And by God, if it didn't come out right, or if the neighbor told him anything different, we knew what to expect. It wasn't going to be a pretty break for him, but he had a peace of mind. He was going to have a peace of mind when he went back to work.
My name is Rochelle Jones Martin. I am from Atlanta, Georgia, and I am Lee Robert Jones' youngest daughter. And happy to be here today, all the way from Atlanta, just giving my dad the honor for starting this Little League baseball team. He always told us that it takes a village to raise children. And so he was very active in his community, very active in church, very active with his family, his children and his grandchildren, and now he has great-grandchildren. So just very important to stay focused and stay active and try to teach and give back to our younger generation, and just, move forward and volunteer wherever we can and help out wherever we can, whether we give monetary donations or give our time.
We drove all night from Atlanta to get here, which was okay. I'm so thankful for my dad. I tell everybody, even on my job to this day, Lee Robert Jones raised me. And they like, what? Who is that? So I'll be able to take pictures and show them really who he was. Our father was a great dad, a great husband to my mother, a great grandfather to all these grandkids, a great uncle. and a great brother. He instilled in us to make sure you treat people good, the best that you can treat them, and then it come back to you. So it shows that with all these friends and family that he treated somebody good because you all came out to support us. I want to thank Cortland and Lil Grover, Lil Ricky, Andre, Anton, because you all, young black men, they always say you don't participate in anything, you don't ever do anything, you're not about anything, but you are about something. Amen. You all came from something. I just asked Cortland this morning, can he start coming down here? He said, I didn't even know the league was still going on. So I know when I get back to Atlanta, he's going to call his brother cousins and say, guess what? I'm back down there in the park where I started from. Lil Grover and Lil Ricky, great dads. They have their children here. They're holding their babies. You don't see that. So I thank you all for that. I thank you all for being here. All of our other friends, my ride-or-die daughter, I called her, I said, I need a cake. All the way, and she's like, okay, I got you. What you want on it? We up at night texting, there's the cake. So when you treat people good, you get good. Amen. Miss Deborah, I said, you still look the same. That's still Miss Deborah. Even though my dad used to yell at you all the time. All the time. You still here. And I thank you for that. JD, I didn't know if JD was my uncle or my big brother or I didn't know. But Daddy used to holler at him all the time too, and he's still here. And I thank you for being here. I don't know where my Uncle Howard is, but I'm so grateful for him that he's still hanging in here, 29 years. And I really appreciate him. I could talk on and on and on and on and on about Lee Robert Jones, but I'm not going to do that because I know y'all got stuff to do. But just a great man. And every day I tell these kids, I say, well, they're not kids, but his grandkids, and he got great grandkids here. Follow what your granddaddy taught you. Love is so much more easier than hate. Amen. It is so much more easier. You feel much better when you just love people and do kind things for people. And a lot of times I find myself, I tell them all the time, I talk to Daddy every day. Every single day. Daddy, what you want me to do? Am I doing okay? And I could still feel his presence. I can still feel him. I have my days where I'm sad, but most of the time I'm happy. I know my Father's in heaven. Amen. I know that he's in heaven. Amen. So you all, thank you again. Have a great Saturday. We'll see you again next year. And God bless all of you.
We just didn't get one whooping. One person didn't get a whooping because he didn't believe in pointing the fingers and all that because we all knew the rules and the ground rules. But whatever it took, it was our responsibility to make sure it happened because Miss Smiley, Mr. Grant, or Miss Daniels was going to tell it. So we had to tell the truth because that's a double whammy. If you lie and get caught in it, you know, back then you had to go pick out your own switch. And as you got older, when you got that switch, you know, don't come back with no little one because it's gonna be painful. My dad had a full-time job and retired that same year from Jewish Hospital, back when it was Jewish Hospital. He was an orderly at night. My dad went to work with his 8th grade education to Brown & Williams, one of the top tobacco companies in the city, in the country. By day and by night, he was on 3rd shift at Jewish Hospital. And some of his friends would tease him. His family members, some of the family members would mock him. Because yes, my dad slept when he could. My dad slept, in fact, probably standing up sometimes. He would, you know, every opportunity he got, he would go from hearing from different stories about him from other people. He would even find a sneak away because of his exhaustion at Jewish in the basement, and being an orderly, he would have to find a room to take that cat nap. And he was that type of person that it was allowed because they know he wasn't a slacker. He was not a lazy man at all. So he wasn't just getting away just to be getting away. But he did because he had to, because he knew the importance of his background, his role, that number 7 child. He knew the importance, and he lived up to that. Also, my dad, when he came to Louisville early age, he was a deacon at Shallow Baptist Church as a young man with 3 children and a wife, at home, 2 jobs. Deacon at Shallow on Catalpa, that was 3 minutes away. He made sure, that was back when the kids went to Sunday school, and we walked to Sunday school around the corner to Shallow, and he came, and him and my mother came, sometimes driving up, passing us with the air conditioner on, but we had to walk, and we knew what time we needed to be there. So they didn't play with us. In other words, they didn't play with us with our upraising, because they were on a mission, and we lived up to that. You know, they say that the Cosby family and all these other elite families in the media, we were that family. We didn't live in the projects. My mom and dad was homeowners at the age of, my sister, she's 56. They were home, their first homeowners at the age 24. I think my mother was 24 when she had my little sister. Me and my brother was born in Kentucky, but somewhere else. But my sister was born in the home, and we occupied that house up until they passed away. 58 years we had that house. So we wasn't the family that jumped around, moved when the rent was due. We were the family, the 7th, the family that we always had the same address, and until they passed away, the same phone number. Family members, extended family members, people traveling, needed mail. They knew that they could depend on our residents to get their important mail or the phone number. If they needed to find somebody, they knew what number to call. My dad was a supervising coordinator for Brown Williams. He retired at the age of 51. And back then, that was something to be said for. And he was the supervising coordinator of facilities. And facilities in the janitorial department at Brown & Williams. And he stayed with Brown & Williams until they moved up in the Galleria early on, until they got things sorted out and transitioned to that move. Then he had other things to pursue. When he retired at 51, he needed something to do. He felt like he didn't have enough to do. He told my mother he was going to open up him a hardware store. She thought he had lost his everlasting mind. He knew what he was doing and talking about, though. He wanted to give back. That's when he started pursuing his retire. He thought he was going to retire, but at that point, he didn't even have time to work. So it was a good thing that he retired with a pension. He opened up his first hardware store out in Shepherdsville, Kentucky. He was there for about 2 years. And one of his customers came to him, Lee, we need to talk about your business. Because he wasn't he felt like he wasn't being productive as he had intended. So he was open to the ideas of because he wanted to give back and be profitable as well. the customer put him to the side and said, they don't want you here. He was like, man, what do you mean? You know, this is the ideal spot. I'm all set up, and my signs and all his things was already in place with having a business to serve the community. They said, well, no, it's not that. It's because you're African American. They're not the people in this community, this area. They're not going to bring you their business because you are a black owner. And my father, you know, coming from Grenada, Mississippi, he knew what time it was. He had to get out of Dodge, and that's what he did. Packed up, got him a truck, packed his store up, and never looked back. That was just a stumbling block because the Lord had something else in store. He pondered that thing, didn't give up. He found Oak Street. He was the founder of Oak Street Hardware in the middle of Old Louisville. He was the owner and operator, because he worked there every day, for over 25 years at 2nd and Oak Street Hardware. He started on the side. His business was on the side. He said the space wasn't big enough. He moved spaces, so he had the corner front, the corner lot space was bigger for his growth of the business. He moved there and catered to the Old Louisville community. And they loved him. They put him to work because they knew that he was a hard worker and had goals and ambition. They tricked him, I believe. And my mother, she was livid because he was never at home at that point. He was always at a board meeting, Oak Street Association, Old Louisville Association, Oak Street member, community member. He was a community activist. He was on the board at Presentation High School. They recruited him. Wherever they saw a need, it was always, because he never met a stranger. And he gave his all, and they knew that he gave his all in everything that he did. Not knowing he had a wife that wasn't in the best of health. They didn't care because they just wanted him to get all they can get out of him because he was a smart man. And so with that, my mother understood to a certain degree, but it was hard on me too because he's gonna, later in life, did I know, unbeknowing, that he was passing that torch to me.
Man, when I think about Mr. Lee Jones, there's always somebody that you could easily come and talk to. But you had to be careful, because if you came and talk to you, you got to be ready to expect straightforward. He's going to kick it to you straight and tell you exactly what you don't want to hear, but what you need to hear. Definitely just a hard-working person. So that's what I got from him. That's what he instilled in me, along with his family. So it's definitely an honor to be able to come down here and to see that this is still going. There is something that is still going on here at this facility. It's definitely good to see. So that's pretty much all I'm saying.
R.A.P. Reaching all people. That was the original name of the league down here. West Louisville R.A.P. Baseball League. That was the board. That's where it started. Then it became West Louisville R.A.P. Sports Complex. They said, well, Lee, why R.A.P.? What does that mean? What does that stand for? Even when he would go to the banks or any meetings, he always referred to it, and if you got it twisted, he would correct you. It's R.A.P. West Louisville R.A.P. Baseball League. He saw the need in West Louisville to get the youth involved, and he also made sure that the parents were involved. And if you didn't work down here and you didn't respect the league, or you wanted it your way, he was quick to tell you that is not what we're about. The first few years, this league blew up. There was over 500 youth that had signed up. Over 500 African American boys, young boys and young girls on the leagues, because they had co-ed teams, they had boy teams, they had little girl t-ball teams, and some great people came from there. The need was, from the surveys, it's going to take a village. And he started off, they hit the ground running. People, if you're going to be a part of R.A.P, reaching all people, and in order for us to do that, it's going to take a village. And by God, those families, umpires, coaches, everybody hit the ground running. We needed sponsorship for not only the concession and the uniforms. It takes money to live. It takes money. You have to have money to do anything in this world, and it takes hard work, and you got to have integrity. You know, there's so many things that we have to do. You know, we hear now because we don't leave. He never left the Lord out of it, but God is not coming down out of the sky. We got to put the footwork in. We got to do some work. Once he formed his league, he took his dreams and the desires downtown. At that time, it was they were aldermans down there. It was the aldermans district. And later on, you know, they changed it to council people, the council board. But when it was the aldermans, they knew when they saw Lee Jones coming, it was about a need. It was a need. It wasn't no foolishness. If he needed whatever it was, if he needed finance, going them budgets, he needed money. Whether it was to the metro parks for cutting the grass, they knew he wanted something, and it wasn't. It was because there was a need for it. Because again, he was volunteering. Everybody, a part of it was volunteering. Nobody was on the payroll, and they had their own homes and expenses, families to maintain. So we had, you know, there was a cost barrier. If you have so many kids, we had to give them a discount. They needed uniforms. They needed bats. They needed gloves. They need we need concession. We need, you know, the same thing as the South End, East End, North End, Portland area. We need everything that those different areas of youth. We needed it as well in West Louisville, and Lee Jones made that happen, along with his volunteer support team. He started that league. I mean, I'm not sure of the timeline. This is the timeline. It might not be accurate, but it's pretty darn gone close. Because we worked our butts off down here. Actually, it was 40 years ago, because my daughter is 40. My oldest daughter is 40, and she was on the T-ball, and my nephew, they're 40 now. They were on the T-ball team. So you do the math, 35 years plus, at least 30, I know. My dad, he passed away, unfortunately, unexpected, in 2019. He was a snowbird in Florida, and his health somewhat failed him, and he just didn't make it back to Louisville, Kentucky to continue his dreams. His news clippings was referred to, and you had to get it right. His interviews, he never dropped or had any slang for it. And he would give them the smidget history, R.A.P means reaching all people. His goal was to reach all people, parents, children in the black community, in the West Louisville area. When he organized once he organized the board, they went out. The board went out. He sent them out to recruit. He first started with the parents, recruiting the parents and then the kids. Because the parents are over the household, male or female, single moms, single dads. They had, back then, it wasn't quite like it is now, but they did have some say-so over their children back then. And there, he sent out essays, flyers, questions, concerns, surveys. What is it that we need down here? What is the need for West Louisville? They said there's nothing for the kids to do. Mr. Jones, there's nothing for them to do. He took that back to the board, and they pondered and came up with the league and well, the name reaching all people. They didn't want to exclude anyone. So that's why the T-ball league on up to the different leagues in the Babe Ruth division. They had a senior league, and we'll go over to that field.
We're going to unveil the plaque now, and it's going to be caked here for everyone who wants it. And just come and look at the plaque. We're going to work with Ms. Purvis and the City of Louisville to get it mounted on the side of the concession stand. On the side of the concession stand, so take your time to come and look at it and have some cake. And we have a history book on the red table over here. So again, we appreciate everybody making time, coming down, mingle around, see Mr. Howard Jones, Coach Jones before you leave. If you have volunteer in your heart, just get the times that the games are coming. He's got plenty of things that are needed down here. So make time to come down and volunteer and be a part of this program. This is gonna conclude the program. Thank you very much.